conservatives seem very mad that Lizzo played James Madison's flute. Not surprised that they're clutching their pearls about a flute that they probably didn't even know existed in the first place. Next, the Library of Congress will allow Snoop Dogg to roll a blunt with the Declaration of Independence. Great job at desecrating the nation's artifacts. And Asher's mom wants people to know that it was disrespectful to history. And Nick Adams, originally from Australia, said Lizzo isn't talented enough to play music on a $20 Yamaha plastic recorder off of Amazon. This is disgusting and very embarrassing for our country. Shame on you. Okay, I'm an ultra MAGA American woman. Like, that's not embarrassing in itself. But there were more positive than negative comments. And here are some of the positive comments. I love this with my whole heart. She's an amazing and talented musician. What an innovative way to call attention to the instruments that are stored at the Library of Congress. I wonder how many kids who never knew about the Library of Congress now know about it because of this. Lizzo is such a staggering talent, and to see her joy as she plays each instrument is inspiring. I love it when Lizzo gets an opportunity to remind us that she is a classically trained musician. And I will end with this. Oh my God, Lizzo played it. History is effing amazing, and Lizzo is effing amazing too.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here at Conversation with Tess on Think About It Thursdays. And yes, Lizzo got a chance to play a wonderful 200-year-old flute, and people are forgetting on the conservative side that she is a classically trained flautist. But before we get into tonight's topics, y'all need to pay attention because this is going to be a rapid fire because we have a lot to get through. Queen Colonizer II's official cause of death came out, and surprise, surprise, she died because she was old.
Why was that a need to know?
They always give out anybody who's famous' cause of death after the autopsy is completed.
She did. She was 97 years old.
As I said, they always give out the cause of death for anybody that's famous that passes. But we have 2 videos regarding history. Let's take a look at it and we'll come back and talk about them.
Dirty facts about history that school probably didn't teach you. Part 20. Before she married Ronald, Nancy Reagan was known around Hollywood for her oral abilities, therefore making her a certified throat goat. Queen Victoria really loved doing the deed with her husband, Prince Albert. Like, really loved doing it. To the point where it was audible through doors and walls several times daily. After the Founding Fathers signed the Declaration of Independence, they went frat boy mode and racked up a pretty impressive bar tab. A bottle of whiskey, 2 bottles of wine, and 7 to 10 beers per founding father. George Washington in particular was known as the 3-bottle man, meaning he could drink 3 entire fifths of whiskey without blacking out. The guy who invented sea monkeys was a white supremacist, so if you ever bought this bullshit, you indirectly contributed to the Klan.
The worst first spot in the worst first ladies. The Prince of Darkness among presidents needed a Princess of Darkness among first ladies. Many of you have already correctly guessed that the worst first lady spot would be occupied by the devil woman herself, Miss Nancy Reagan. If you were to have asked Nancy when she was born, she would have told you July 6, 1923. Like most of her life, that was a lie. She was actually born Anne Frances Robbins on July 6, 1921. Her stepfather, Loyal Edward Davis, officially adopted her in 1938, and at that time she legally changed her name to Nancy Davis. Unlike our second worst first lady, she at least did go to college and graduated with a degree in English and drama in 1943. Much to her dismay, though, a degree in drama didn't actually translate to a talent in acting. Lucky for her, a talent in acting wasn't really required to get an acting job. Thanks to the connections of her parents, nepotism was all that was required to get her a screen test with MGM. Whether it was that nepotism or her ability to give an excellent oral presentation on why she should be selected for the role is still up for debate, but after landing a 7-year contract with MGM over people like Marilyn Monroe, she was suddenly in a relationship sort of thing with MGM's head of casting, a man who had an open secret for demanding sexual favors from actresses. She met Ronald Reagan in 1949, and they started some weird open relationship while he was also getting divorced from his first wife. This open relationship continued for 3 years until he knocked her up, and they got married shortly after on March 4th, 1952. We don't talk about that because after years of dating everybody in Hollywood and getting knocked up before getting married, Nancy would later publicly come out as a person with strong Christian conservative values who denounces the sins of premarital sex. Her first step into politics was in 1967 when she became the First Lady of California, where aside from garnering some controversy for refusing to live in the governor's mansion and openly disliking the city of Sacramento, she engaged in the community involvement roles you'd expect from a governor's wife. But during Ronald McDonald's 1980 presidential bid, she started demonstrating her influence over her husband, going as far as firing one of their campaign managers. She quickly became unpopular, viewed as a rich, out-of-touch elite who engaged in wasteful, luxurious spending. She had her husband make policy decisions based on horoscopes. She openly opposed women's rights like the ERA and abortion. And because she hated gay people, she encouraged her husband to ignore the AIDS epidemic altogether. In fact, to distract from the AIDS epidemic, she started a campaign to kill even more people that still haunts us to this day. Just say no. She is largely responsible for the skyrocketing prison population, the lives lost, the communities destroyed, the astronomical money spent to fight the war on drugs, all to distract from a health crisis that was killing people that she thought was icky. But we'll give her credit where it's due, even though she still manages to taint even this. Ronnie had Alzheimer's in the White House, and she spent the rest of her life advocating for Alzheimer's research and treatment. Something I appreciate because I've lost 2 great-grandmothers and a grandfather to the disease, and it is awful. But after decades of oppressing and shitting on people for things that didn't personally affect her, like AIDS, drugs, and in this case specifically abortion, sudden support of stem cell research when she thought it could save her husband was seen by people on both sides as disingenuous, hypocritical, and selfish. So her lies, her hypocrisy, her vanity, and her personal role in the death, hardship, and oppression of millions of people is why she is the worst First Lady of all time.
And just some additional caveats. Yes, he tried to live her life as a devout Christian, but was deep into astrology, so that's an oxymoron right there. And she also forced Ronald Reagan and their family into the GE house, which made them have to do a series of commercials, and back then commercials were live. So, and the GE house at the time was their version of a modern day smart house. And the final burn of burn, both of their children are a part of the LGBTQIA+.
Get out.
And both denounced their parents, their actions, and their stances.
You're kidding me.
The children were mere props.
You're kidding me.
No.
Wow.
Say, be careful what you speak out against. Because either it's going to come head to head with you when it's time for you to have your life saved, or it's going to be all up in your family. Now, let's get some Trump legal updates rolling.
Last night, the DOJ said it has completed its review of everything it seized from Donald Trump's home. And here, Judge Raymond Dearie is the complete list, minus the 334 documents that were marked classified. So minus the National Defense Information documents, the special master and Donald Trump's lawyers have a list of everything the DOJ says it seized from Trump's home. Now the burden shifts to Trump's lawyers to either verify that this list is accurate or to demonstrate what on this list was not in Trump's home and was added to the list by the FBI, which is a claim that Trump made. The Trump lawyers document is due at noon on Friday. As soon as it comes in and we look at it, more as we get it.
And reporting now on a big change in Donald Trump's legal team. 2 sources telling CNN that Chris Kise, the former Florida Solicitor General who just started representing the former president weeks ago, is now being sidelined from the Mar-a-Lago documents case. Let's get to our chief White House correspondent, Caitlin Collins, for more. Caitlin, what happened?
Yeah, John, it hasn't been that long since Chris Kise was brought onto the president's legal team. He's the former Solicitor General of Florida. That's really part of the reason why he was brought on here to help, given this investigation is mainly centered in Florida. And now, despite the fact that he was brought on to help with this Mar-a-Lago case ever since the raid, the search of former President Trump's home, I'm told he's basically been sidelined from dealing with the documents investigation and is not actually leading the legal team's efforts when it comes to this investigation. Now, I am told he does still remain on the legal team. He may be working on some of the other investigations that Trump is dealing with. John, we know there's several of those, including the ones dealing with the civil lawsuit in New York, looking into Trump's business practices, the January 6th investigation that's based out of Washington, D.C. A lot of investigations that he could potentially work on, but it's notable that he's not leading the efforts when it comes to the Mar-a-Lago documents investigation. Part of that reason is because he was hired with a $3 million price tag. That is what was paid for by Trump's outside campaign arm that was dealing with that $3 million paycheck that Chris Kise asked for up front. That's something that is notable because obviously Trump has developed his reputation for not always paying his legal fees. And so we should note, John, that this comes as we reached out to a Trump spokesman. They told us on the record Chris Kise's role as an important member of Trump's legal team remains unchanged, and any suggestion otherwise is untrue. But he is not leading the way here on the Mar-a-Lago investigation. It's not precisely explained why he is no longer going to be really mainly dealing with that. But it is notable, given, John, that's precisely what he was brought on to deal with his experience in Florida law, but now has been effectively sidelined from the.
Now, keep in mind, it was the Trump team that asked for the special master because Trump, nor the legal team, and I do not understand how these jurists have no idea how the legal system works. But we lived through lockdown and COVID-19 and monkeypox with medical professionals who had no idea how science worked. So at this point, I'm not shocked. They didn't realize that when you ask for something, you foot the bill forward, number one. Number two, does not mean that the person is going to lean in your direction. The person is there to just oversee and say, yay, nay, this is cool, this is copacetic. Yes, what they're saying is true. Yes, this is admissible. No, this is trash. Oops, this is a scrap paper. Things like that. They thought they were getting somebody in there to just blanketly say that Trump was innocent and they wouldn't have to foot the bill. And now they're like, have the public pay for it. We'll pay him back. No, thank you. We know that Trump has a history of never paying his bills. Trump's credit score has to be negative or at least zero. It has to be. There's no way he has a credit rating.
It's probably -1.
But I know that the January 6th committee is on hiatus, but let's take a look at some new evidence that they got and what will be discussed. And small caveat, Jeannie Thomas has agreed to come in either later this week or early next week to sit down and talk to the committee.
These are messages that were exchanged between January 6th defendants. This is what Fox News and Donald Trump got their people to believe. This is what Donald Trump and Fox News and right-wing media got their people to believe. These are fanatics. The only answer is murder the left. I will risk my life for America. What did I tell you about COVID? COVID was the fucking litmus test. Are you willing to take your mask off, expose yourself to a virus, your entire fucking family to a virus, and die for Donald Trump? Do you remember Herman Cain? Do you remember that? This is cult-like behavior.
So I would say prepare for yet another self-coup. And this is why. See, we were wondering why Trump was going crazy on Twitter Lite, aka Truth Social, and why he's now amping up his support for QAnon and reposting QAnon things. And now, I am the Messiah, I am the chosen one. It's because QAnon is willing to do whatever. They're already radicalized. They're already completely brainwashed. They're going to continue to give up their money. And if you watch the Monday series in talking about the Espionage Act of 1917, people behind the act truly believe that patriotism includes the taking of life or the giving up of the sacrificing of your own life. So Once again, this is nothing new. It's a tale as old as time. And quick reminder before we get into the next video, make sure you check out the links tagged in the description of this video. If you missed any of this week's episodes, please go back and watch them. And make sure you subscribe, click like, share, and hit the bell so you're updated on any and everything. And just another update regarding the new law that's supposed to hit Illinois January 1st of 2023. There's a lot of disinformation going on. Let's watch this video and break it down afterwards.
Illinois has completely lost their mind.
It's Illinois.
If you don't know, now you know. You better pay attention because in Chicago, starting January 1st, 2023, guess what?
What?
Second-degree murder, kidnapping, any of these things are no longer detainable. They will no longer put these people in fucking jail.
I wouldn't want to see that happen in the state I'm living in. Are you sure they're going to do that, though? Because it seems like that's a bit much.
Watch this.
As of January 1st, 2023, the following things will go into effect, and people need to be aware of this. It abolishes cash bail for almost every offense. This includes, but isn't limited to, kidnapping, armed robbery, second-degree murder, drug-induced homicide, aggravated DUI, threatening a public official, and aggravated fleeing and eluding. Offenders released on electronic monitoring have to be in violation for 48 hours before law enforcement can act. They could almost drive to Alaska before we can even look for them. Officers will no longer be able to remove trespassers from your resident or your businesses.
Oh my fucking god. So you're telling me that none of you decided to look this shit up? Firstly, the video you all keep playing comes from the Republican mayor of Orland Park, a town in the south suburbs of the Chicagoland area, who not only is in a current race for the House of Representatives, which how convenient, he just happens to go scorched earth against a bill he doesn't fucking understand in order to get a viral moment right before the election, but he also happens to be running on low crime rates and playing some math fuckery in the process by comparing 1990s crime rates to now as if there wasn't a nationwide drastic decrease in crime from the 90s. Secondly, the video you all are talking about comes from this individual on Twitter, which look at his account if you want, but I shouldn't have to tell you why this dude's a fucking idiot.
Second-degree murder, drug-induced homicide, arson, aggravated battery. You can now be released with those things without bail.
Thirdly, it would be a damn shame if you could still be held in jail for any of these crimes that you just said we couldn't be held in jail for. Well, according to the text of the bill, defendants can be denied pretrial release if the hearing finds that they meet any of these following criteria. If they're charged with a forcible felony, that comes with a mandatory sentence of imprisonment without probation upon conviction, blah, 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 blah. Forcible felonies include first-degree murder, second-degree murder, predatory criminal sexual assault, robbery, burglary, residential burglary, aggravated arson, kidnapping, aggravated battery resulting in great bodily harm or permanent disability or disfigurement, and any other felony which involves the use of physical force or violence against any other individual. As well as being charged with any of these will deny your ability to be released pre-trial, aka you will stay in jail. In short, the new bill makes it so that you won't be held in jail simply for the fact that you can't pay bail, instead creating a detention trial in which the prosecution must bring sufficient evidence to say that a defendant must be held in jail, to which the judge must make the decision. You know what that doesn't fucking sound like? The damn purge.
The craziest part about it is that this act was over 700 pages long, and they only took 40 minutes to read it before they voted on it.
Fourth, welcome to the second tweet used as evidence. That tweet failing to mention the fact that the reason why they voted on it so quickly was because they comprised a 34-person commission prior, 23 of which were public safety or legal community, including prosecutors, sheriffs, and judges.
Illinois is going to be the new crime capital of the...
Fifth, again, it's fucking Illinois. If you can't realize that the S is silent, you shouldn't be talking. I literally Googled Illinois purge law and this shit popped up, meaning you guys didn't do not a microsecond of research. And people in Illinois, let this be a lesson. Do your own damn research, please, because what do we do?
Now, let me truly break this down for you. We know that there is corruption through and through the judicial system within the United States, but that's how it was created from its inception, okay? It was to protect the complexion for protection and denigrate any of those that are non-white, specifically Black men and women and children. Hence the fact that we have the pipeline from schools unto prison. This kind of breaks it down. Instead of walking in and a judge or a magistrate looking at someone, regardless of their charges, and deciding to lock them up with bail, knowing that or believing that they can't make bail, regardless of the charge, now they have to actually look at the facts of the case, look at the charges, and go, you're going to stay detained or you can walk away. That's it. It's breaking down the color barrier within the judicial system. Now, real quick, let's take a look at some Trump quotes for all of y'all that still want to hold on to Trump's not racist. Really?
I'm going to read you some quotes from newly leaked conversations between Trump and other government officials. And spoiler alert, they're pretty much all horribly racist. In January of 2017, Trump held a reception at the White House for congressional leaders and their top staffers. There, he saw a group of racially diverse people and assumed they were waiters. He turned to these people, who were senior staff for the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader of the Senate, and said, "Why don't you get the food?" Then White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus rushed to correct his mistake, letting him know that he just addressed top congressional aides as if they were wait staff. This book also details a conversation that Trump had with his ex-girlfriend Kara Young, who had a black mother and a white father, in which he tells her that she must have inherited her intelligence, quote, from her dad, the white side. Apparently, Trump was the only one to laugh at his racist joke. This isn't surprising, but these comments are so blatant, it's just a little shocking.
Once again, he's not racist. He had been in the White House for quite a while by the time he made that assessment. And for those of you saying that, oh, he worked so hard, he didn't play golf as much as Obama, blah, blah, blah. He had no idea who was in the government and what positions they held.
Good Lord.
Flip-flopping on his own people. The reason why he started off saying people were good people and then, oh, they were the worst that they ever, because he genuinely can't remember who's who and who's what and where they were appointed to.
Yep.
Because I'm pretty sure, unless he can get news coverage off of it, he's forgotten who Barron is. And I'm definitively sure he's forgotten who Trump is.
I say this man has literally gone on the record to say the most inappropriate things to people. And he suffers no consequences from it. But anybody he says anything to suffers the consequences because they're like, why didn't you say anything? I'm like, I didn't even say it. I'm like, I get crucified for what he said. Y'all don't go, no, y'all think he's the best thing since sliced bread, but I'm the villain? Okay. No problem.
But from one idiot grifter to the next,
oh Lord,
the Brett Favre saga continues to get worse. There's more. Take a look.
More.
Today's question of the day, y'all. What does it take to punish a rich white man who's a former NFL superstar and Hall of Fame player for the crime of stealing millions and millions of dollars from impoverished people from his home state, many of whom are black, as well as cancer patients and special needs kids? This dude took $100,000 that was meant for cancer patients and special needs kids, and he gave it to his alma mater. So is this enough to get him punished? Let me know what you think. Me personally, I'm gonna go with choice D, because I don't think there's anything he could probably do to get punished, because how do you punish whiteness in this country? But it's still arrest Brett Favre all day.
Now, coming from the WashingtonPost.com, Brett Favre's charity reportedly donated to Southern Mississippi Athletics. Brett Favre's Favre for Hope charity, which was created to support disadvantaged and disabled children and breast cancer patients, donated more than $130,000 to the University of Southern Mississippi Athletic Foundation from 2018 to 2020 tax records obtained by the Athletic and ESPN show. At the time, the Hall of Fame quarterback was trying to raise money for a new volleyball stadium at the university where he played football, and his daughter was a member of the volleyball team. The funding for that stadium is under investigation in a widening state welfare scandal involving tens of millions of dollars. Favre for Hope, which received public donations, reportedly gave the USM Athletic Foundation $60,000 in 2018 when the charity's other beneficiaries received $10,000 each. The USM Athletic Foundation received $46,817 in 2019, with the Special Olympics of Mississippi receiving $11,000, the next highest donation. In 2020, the USM Athletic Foundation received $26,175 from Favre for Hope, and no other organization was given more than $10,000. According to the records, between 2011 and 2017, the year Favre's daughter, Braylee, enrolled at the school, Far for Hope reportedly gave the Athletic Foundation a combined $47,900. Tax records were not available for 2016. When Braylee Favre played volleyball at Oak Grove High in 2015, his foundation reportedly gave the school's booster club $60,000. The booster club was given $10,000 in 2013. He has been very generous to Southern Miss since he played ball there, Favre's attorney Bud Holmes told ESPN. Those particular things I don't know, but I know he has given back, something most athletes don't do. The documents don't show whether conditions were placed on the USM Athletic Foundation or Oak Grove Booster Club, but experts question whether the money aligned with Far for Hope's stated mission. There's the letter of the law, there's the spirit of the law, and it's something where it would probably be tough to make a legal case, but it still doesn't look good, Rick Cohen, chief operating officer of the National Council of Nonprofits, told The Athletic. It isn't unheard of for a nonprofit to expand its mission or change its mission over time if they find they need to redirect. That does not seem to be the case here. First of all, don't give him excuses. There are plenty of athletes that do give back. There are plenty that are philanthropists. Second of all, he's doing what other celebrities did previously. They were paying into boosters in order to pay for their children's degrees. That these because she actually played volleyball, so I'll give him that. But let us not forget, Felicity Huffman spent time in, I'm using the word prison very lightly, and so did other celebrities.
Lori Lockton, or whatever her name is.
Because they were paying for the degrees, not the education, the degrees for their children. And it sounds like he went so far as to pay for her high school diploma. Now, if you do not have that much confidence in your children, you have enough money to get them tutors.
I'm just saying.
If I was his daughter, one, how do you not know this is going on? Because your family name is getting slapped on everything soon as you start playing a sport, as soon as you enter the school. Wake up, honey. Two, I would be completely destroyed. You have zero confidence in me.
Basically.
You think that I'm stupid and I can't make it. You might as well just send me to Brigham Young University to find a husband. And if y'all don't understand that, women go to Brigham Young University not to get a degree, but to get a husband. They go to school to study how to become a pick-me wife.
But why?
Because they're Mormon. Oh, but today is the day for news. And yes, we will discuss this further on Monday. But when I told y'all everything gets repeated, what the pre-internet QAnon believers, and I'm being facetious in using that term, of the Lust Committee and other committees thought that the Soviet Bureau within the United States was doing, United States citizens are currently doing right now. Not sure what I'm talking about? Take a look.
Holy shit, we got another one. There's another one. Just today, National Security Agency employee from Colorado charged with trying to send classified documents to Russia. You know, we didn't see any of this stuff under the Trump administration. I mean, we barely saw it. Even Trump didn't want to expel the Russian agents that were in Florida. Like, he fought against it. Looks like the Biden administration actually cares about our national security. Y'all, this is breaking fucking news. Holy Jesus fucking Christ. A Johns Hopkins anesthesiologist and husband, an army captain federally indicted for trying to give medical information about members of the military and their families to the Russian government. Anna Gabrieliana and Jamie Lee Henry met with undercover FBI agents posing as representatives of Russian embassy, giving medical information from Fort Bragg that Russia could exploit. Now do you see for 3 years why medical creators like me and others went after other medical creators for spreading misinformation and outright fucking lies? Jesus Christ, man.
And coming from CNBC.com, Army Major and Dr. White plot to give U.S. military medical info to Russia. A U.S. Army doctor and their physician wife were arrested for an alleged criminal plot to give Russia confidential medical information about people connected to the American military and government. The couple, 39-year-old Major Jamie Lee Henry, and anesthesiologist Anna Gabrielian, 36, aimed to help Russia in its ongoing war against the Ukraine, according to federal prosecutors. The Rockville, Maryland couple believed they were passing medical information to a Russian embassy employee, according to an 8-count indictment unsealed Thursday in Baltimore federal court. But in reality, the recipient of the confidential material was an undercover FBI agent. The information related to a handful of patients at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, where Henry was a staff internist, and at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, where Gabrielian works, the indictment said. The indictment accuses the couple of giving the purported embassy worker the information to demonstrate their level of access to such material about U.S. personnel and to show the potential for the Russian government to gain insight into the medical conditions of individuals associated with the U.S. government and military to exploit this information. That complaint charges the couple with conspiracy and wrongful disclosure of individually identifiable health information. Henry had secret level security clearance while working at Fort Bragg, the largest military post in the U.S. Fort Bragg is the home of the Army's Airborne Corps, the headquarters of the Army's Special Operations Command, and the Womack Army Medical Center. Henry in 2015 was reported to be the first known active duty Army officer to come out as transgender. Gabrielian speaks both English and Russian, according to the webpage of Johns Hopkins. Both defendants appeared Thursday in federal court in Baltimore. Judge Brendan Hurston ordered Gabrielian released on an unsecured $500,000 bond into home detention with electronic monitoring, while Henry was released without bond into home detention and electronic monitoring. Now, if you all realize, last week and even earlier this week, I told you something like this was going to happen because the information that Trump stole from the White House, he's too stupid to realize it is not the most updated information. Intel is basically updated every day because things change globally every day. Operatives move around every day. People report back in every day. And to save his neck, how much you want to bet their political association is to Trump?
I bet my whole $5 check on it.
And with that, we go from espionage to the GOP dirty delete ahead of the primaries.
Good Lord.
What I am about to show you was the website for Republican North Carolina congressional candidate Bo Hines way back in the month of June. Right up top, the website led with a quote from Hines saying, "I am 100% pro-life." When you went down to the issues, a section called Life and Family was literally front and center. And when you clicked on it, you got this, quote, "Bo Hines will always defend the pro-life movement." The word always is pretty funny there because this is Bo Hines' website today. Not only is there no mention of abortion or of Bo Hines being pro-life, the site dropped the Life and Family section altogether, just like gone, Kaiser Soze style. Over in Colorado's new 8th district, Republican candidate Barbara Kirkmeyer removed language saying she would defend the sanctity of life from her website and took down a message of her speaking at an anti-abortion rally earlier this year. That's all stuff that used to be on the very front page of her website. Down in Virginia, Yesli Vega, the Republican candidate for Virginia's 7th district, made a teeny tiny change to her Twitter bio. Here is her Twitter profile back in July, side by side with her Twitter profile today. Everything is exactly the same except for one sentence, which has been cut. Yesli Vega no longer mentions that she was an appointee of President Donald Trump. It sort of seems like she maybe doesn't want that association anymore. The reason I'm cherry picking these Republican House candidates is because all of their races are turning out to be way closer than anyone predicted. And clearly, some of these Republicans are getting pretty nervous.
I told you all that Roe Wade was supposed to be an eternal talking point. It was never to come to fruition. They have alienated the core of their voting base. The dog whistle that they consistently use, the suburban housewife. And they've also alienated themselves because not a year goes by without a handful of bombshell stories coming out that some politician is having an affair with someone and that she may have had an affair baby or may have had an abortion.
See, here's my thing. And I'm gonna say this as a PK kid to a fellow PK kid. It just baffles me how the flip floppiness of these people will happen. The very moment, as you were just saying, that somebody come up with a baby. It just baffles me because I'm just like, well, wait a minute. You believe you're pro-life. What's going on? What happened? The deacon done molested the daughter, or the hoe down the street now forgot to buy the condom, and you just said, fine, I'll just pull out in time, and you didn't pull out in time. And I'm just like, sir, the amount of shenanigans that's going on in these institutions, the same very thing that you're accusing the other side of doing, you're still doing. So I'm just like the hypocrisy. And again, I'm not falling on the left either because they do the same thing. I'm just like, y'all sitting here arguing, and I'm just like, ugh, aggravating. Excuse me. Y'all sitting here arguing over shenanigans and shade that you both do. Like two incident siblings who doesn't have anything else better to do with their life. Sorry. I got a little carried away.
But the queen of hypocrisy herself is getting a divorce. Let's take a look at these.
You guys! A source very close to the development has now told me that Marjorie Taylor Greene's husband filed for divorce today in Floyd, Georgia. Yeah, the woman that screams about family values and yada yada, yeah, her husband wants to divorce her. Now, he's going to try and have it sealed, but the judge doesn't have to do that. And I believe that this is a public knowledge need. And for the doubters, in 2012, this happened before. Yeah, well, she was having an affair. Yeah, her husband's divorcing her. And I don't blame him. And I love this for her. Vote Marcus Flowers, the guy who actually cares about all families and all types of families.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene's husband just filed for divorce from the Georgia congresswoman after 28 years of marriage. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is up for re-election this November, is running on the campaign message that she is going to, quote, uphold traditional family values.
Good morning, East Coast fam. I'm sorry I didn't have any stuff for you to wake up to. Marjorie Taylor Greene put out this statement, or probably her rep did, asking the media to please respect our privacy at this time. So I trolled her all night.
And coming from the Business Insider, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's husband files for divorce, saying in court documents that marriage was irretrievably broken. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's husband, Perry Greene, filed for divorce Wednesday. According to court documents seen by Insider, Perry Greene and the conservative congresswoman have been married for just over 27 years. In his petition, Perry Greene wrote that he and the congresswoman had been in a bona fide state of separation before he filed the papers in Georgia's Floyd County. He added that their marriage was irretrievably broken. He also asked that the divorce be filed under seal, saying the record will contain sensitive personal and financial information, the public disclosure of which would negatively impact the parties' privacy interests. Small caveat, she's in public office, so she already has to turn over her financials. So I highly doubt this is going to be sealed, but stranger things have happened. Marjorie Taylor Greene, according to court filings, acknowledged receipt of the divorce petition Wednesday. When contacted for comment, the Congresswoman's representatives told Insider the divorce was a private and personal matter. Marriage is a wonderful thing, and I am a firm believer in it, the Congresswoman said in a statement. Our society is formed by a husband and a wife creating a family to nurture and protect. Together, Perry and I formed our family and raised 3 great kids. He gave me the best job title that you can ever earn, Mom. I'll always be grateful for how great of a dad he is to our children. Perry Greene told Insider the Congresswoman was his best friend for the last 29 years and an amazing mom. Our family is our most important thing we have done, he said. As we go on different paths, we will continue to focus on our 3 incredible children and their future endeavors and our friendship. An insider analysis of the Greens' financial holdings indicate Marjorie Taylor Greene and Perry Greene have significant wealth and jointly own numerous stocks, which could add complexity to their divorce proceeding. First of all, the only thing you could talk about is your children, and that's so great. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, are you really sitting here saying that marriage is nurturing between a man and a woman when you had two affairs simultaneously with men from your gym? And I'm sorry, I'm not giving you privacy when you harassed survivors of school shootings and told them, just like Alex Jones, that their trauma wasn't real. And you consistently continue to troll them on Twitter. So miss me with the wanting privacy. Open it up, don't seal anything, and we'll be on your ass. Because you do not get to disrespect people and dance all over their boundaries and then put up a boundary. You know what? That is the most white woman shit this week. This week,
Wait.
that is the most white woman shit.
I'm trying to do the swords. But I'm just like, ma'am, you sat here. And as Cuz just said, and belittled, harassed, threatened these children, seeing their classmates blown away. And you gonna sit here and play morality police because you decided to be like, I just want to bump some monkeys. Yeah. And you gonna sit here and try to say that you have the moral high ground here? Bye. Miss me with that. Miss me. Fly away, monkey. Fly away.
But I'm going to play these two videos back to back. They are not adjoined. I want you all to pay close attention to the first one. If you need to, take a screen grab, pass it around, or direct people to this moment is point 4348. And then the second one is another update on the Trump special master. Here we go.
News, a photo that's been trending on social media. Can you guess who these ladies are behind me? They are the daughters of Ayatollah Ahmad Iravani, a high-ranking official working for the Iranian government. They're living it up outside of Iran, the country that their father works for, the country that kills women for improperly wearing their hijab, the country where its citizens are currently fighting for freedom. Some years ago, a group of Iranians were arrested for dancing to Pharrell's song Happy. Yet his daughter's able to post videos like this online without any repercussions. And sadly, they're not the only children of people of power in Iran, living comfortably and freely outside of Iran.
If you're wondering how credible the Trump team is in relationship to the special master activities, all you have to do is look at what happened the other day. So as you know, Judge Derry, the special master, had asked the Trump team to declare which documents they are alleging were planted by the DOJ, by the FBI during the raid. Since it is the Trump team that made the allegation and the accusations, then it has to be them who say these are the documents that were planted. However, cornered, the Trump team said, well, we can't tell you right now. We have to wait until all of the files are digitized and organized. We're talking about 11,000 documents. So without missing a beat, Judge Derry issued a plan. In it, Judge Derry basically said, by this coming Friday, you have to find a vendor, hire them, and have everything digitized and organized. And you have to do it, obviously, at your expenses because you're the ones who are asking for all these things. So the deadline to get it done was this coming Friday. No, they didn't get it done. And you may be wondering why that is. Why did they miss the deadline? The DOJ gives us an indication of that in a motion that they filed the other day to amend the deadline that Judge Derry had imposed on the Trump team. And here's the document the DOJ filed. So the DOJ had identified 5 vendors who have, in the United States, the proper clearance to complete the work that Judge Derry asked the Trump team to do. And the Trump team contacted each one of those 5 and then had to go back to the DOJ and say, nobody wants to work with us. And the reason they didn't want to work with Trump is because he would be the party responsible for payment, and they didn't trust that that would happen. And this is what this part of the filing basically says. The DOJ is saying, listen, this is what happened. We had to go back to these vendors, and we found at least one of them who is willing to do the work, as long as we, the government, we would be everyone who's watching this video, is going to front the money, and then the DOJ will be reimbursed later on by Trump. So let me recap it. There is not a vendor in the United States that is willing to do work when Trump is responsible for payment. The United States government had to step in and say, we'll front the money and get reimbursed by Trump later on. What is baffling to me is that only now is the Trump's legal team finding out that a special master review process involves a special master that doesn't bow to Trump, and a review, and a process. You can't make this stuff up.
And before you decide whether or not you want to foot the bill for his, he's not going to pay back, coming from the Business Insider, Trump wrote that he knew nothing when asked about the presidential transition delays with Biden officials after the 2020 election. This is from a book. Former President Donald Trump wrote that he knew nothing about delays in the presidential transition from his administration to the incoming administration of Joe Biden to the 2020 election, according to a forthcoming book by New York Times journalist Maggie Haberman. In the book, Confidence Man, Haberman wrote that she queried Trump about a range of topics, and he eventually responded to the questions by hand and by writing in all capital letters using a marker. I don't think this man knows how to use an ink pen. Just give him some crayons. When asked about the holdup in allowing Biden to proceed with critical aspects of his presidential transition, Trump replied, "Know nothing about it." Haberman added that the response to her question came 2 weeks after the deadline had passed. The transition efforts of Biden officials started off in an usual manner, as virtually all White House incumbents who have lost re-election in the past have conceded the race and begun talks with the soon-to-be successors. After exceeding the threshold of 270 electoral votes to capture the presidency, Biden was declared the president-elect by Insider on November 6, 2020, and by most of the other major news outlets, including CNN, ABC News, CBS News, NBC News, and the Associated Press, and Fox News on November 7th. But Trump immediately contested the results, deploying his legal team to challenge the returns in myriad of states, notably Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, all swing states that he won in 2016 but lost in 2020. After weeks of delays, General Services Administration Administrator Emily Murphy ascertained Biden as president-elect on November 23rd, which gave the Biden team millions of federal dollars to fund important presidential transition efforts. Still, Trump continued to dispute the results, and on January 6, 2021, was the most prominent speaker at a rally at the Ellipse that preceded the riot at the United States Capitol. Several pages containing Trump's responses to Haberman were reproduced and included in the final pages of her book. And at the end of the book, Trump responded to a question by writing, "Fake news, good night." You're muted.
Right. I said fake news, fake news. I got a lot of fake news. I'm sorry, I squeaked it the first time, so I'm glad I was muted.
That's all he can say. But before we get to the most heinous story of the evening, let's take on something a little bit more lighthearted. Looks like King Chucky might be taking some advice from Danish royalty. Let's take a look at what went down today.
I have a feeling King Charles is looking over to Denmark right now and taking notes. Queen Margrethe of Denmark just made a major change regarding the titles of her family members. It was just announced that from next year on, the children of her second son, Prince Joachim, will not be known as Prince and Princess as they currently are. Joachim has 2 children from his first marriage. That's Nikolai, who is 23, and Felix, who is 20. And then 2 from his current marriage. That is Henrik, who is 13, and Athena, who is 10. Beginning on January 1st, 2023, the children will only use their titles of Count and Countess of Montpezat. Probably butchered that, I cannot figure it out. The Queen's statement concluded by saying, "The Queen wishes to create the framework for the 4 grandchildren to be able to shape their own lives to a much greater extent without being limited by the special considerations and duties that a formal affiliation with the Royal House of Denmark as an institution involves." Translation, the reasoning behind this is not being a prince or a princess will give these kids much more freedom and the ability to do what they want with their lives. However, not everybody in the family sees it that way. This is Countess Alexandra of Friedrichsborg. She is Prince Joachim's first wife. They are now divorced, obviously. But she said in a statement that she is confused by the decision, saddened and in shock, and that the feeling comes as a surprise. The children don't understand it. I've heard from a few Danish folks that this is kind of similar to the situation currently unfolding in the UK with Harry and Meghan. We still don't know what the decision on that is going to be. Archie and Lilibet are currently entitled to be a prince or a princess, but it sounds like Charles is looking for a way to prevent that from happening. Now we're kind of seeing an example of how he could do that. He could make this decision all on his own and put out this statement saying it's out of love for them. Or Harry and Meghan could be in talks with Charles. The decision could ultimately be billed as their own decision, but I kind of doubt that that's the case. Regardless, with this now as very recent precedent,
I think these moves are more because it is coming to light that Greece does not have a monarchy. Yes, you see royals from Greece all the time, but Greece abolished their monarchy. The royal family of Greece just refuses to relinquish the throne and their titles and go away. And I think other monarchies around Europe are looking at this like, we're gonna come to an end eventually, and they know their people are over it. And because Harry and Meghan are making it do what it do on their own, and people still view them as royalty, I think they should have realized that with the Kennedys when they had Camelot in the White House, but you know, it is what it is. But for our final story of the evening, major trigger warning. This involves kidnapping and death and a minor. So be forewarned, I'll see you in 2 and 2 with an article and we'll discuss it.
We begin with that breaking news near Hesperia, a deadly end to the desperate search for a murder suspect and his 15-year-old daughter, we should say. Investigators say both were killed in a firefight with deputies.
That's not what happened, but you think I'm biased, so I will just repeat to you verbatim what the San Bernardino sheriffs told the press throughout the day. Sheriffs were looking for Anthony Grisino after they found his wife shot in her own home and their daughter Savannah missing, assumed abducted. The cops put out an Amber Alert for Savannah in a white Nissan pickup truck, and then canceled the Amber Alert because she got shot.
Well, so many people were hoping that this young girl who was caught in the middle of a domestic violence situation between her parents would have been able to get away from her father safely.
Translation: during the day, we told all the press that we were trying to save this little girl because we wanted some hero clout. And then 8 hours later when we got shot, we don't know who shot her, but when she got shot, we changed our minds.
A pursuit ensues, and as a result of that pursuit, the suspect immediately starts firing at our deputies, putting several rounds through the windshield.
They now say the father shot at deputies continuously while driving to Hesperia. He stopped here at Southwest Main near the 15. That's where they say the passenger got out of his car wearing a tactical vest and helmet and ran toward police as they continued a gun battle with the driver.
So just to be clear, the dad was continuously shooting at them the entire encounter when the daughter got out of the passenger seat and ran at them with the tactical vest. I would assume because she's trying to get to safety, but I don't know.
And tonight they say they're investigating whether or not he was the only one using the rifle they found in his car.
Preliminarily, again, there may be some indications that the passenger of the vehicle, which we believe is Savannah, may have been also involved in some of the fire exchange.
So now that she's dead, they're investigating whether or not they were like tossing the one rifle they found back and forth to each other and shooting at the cops. That's what they're investigating now. Oh, and this is for all my SWAT buddies. They were prone, pointing down, like they were in an overpass looking down, firing. Just thought I'd throw that in there for you. You know what's even crazier? There's so many San Bernardino vids I never got to finish, like this dude getting shot in the back at his workplace, or the time they tased the lawyer in the courthouse. Or the time when they were called to a business to stop a looter and then the sheriffs ended up robbing the place themselves. Or you want to talk about some rampart shit? The feds actually had to investigate that department because they followed an armored car vehicle and stole $1.1 million from a cannabis company. And yes, obviously there's a child essay story about them too. Oh yeah, I really trust them to tell me what happened. Then side note, fuck the press for always softballing something that might make sheriffs look bad. Like what? The girl ran at the deputies but collapsed on the way to the patrol vehicles. What, would she just trip and fall in a bullet?
And coming from the Los Angeles Times, teen girl killed with father in freeway shootout may have fired at deputies, sheriff say. A day after a 15-year-old girl and her father were killed in a shootout with law enforcement in Hesperia, the San Bernardino County Sheriff said Wednesday that the teen may have shot at some point at deputies who were pursuing their vehicle. Anthony Grazanio, 45, and daughter Savannah Grazanio were fatally shot Tuesday off the 15 freeway at the end of a chaotic car chase from Barstow to Hesperia, in which deputies faced constant gunfire, authorities said. An Amber Alert had been put out for Savannah after her father was suspected of killing his estranged wife and abducting his daughter. Savannah was shot as she ran toward deputies in the middle of the gunfight while wearing body armor and a tactical helmet, San Bernardino County Sheriff Shannon Dykes said. On Wednesday, the sheriff said evidence suggests that Savannah Graziano was a participant in shootings at our deputies. Aside from his short statement, Dykes did not elaborate on what role Savannah had played during the pursuit. He did not say whether she was armed when she was running towards deputies or who shot her. Dykes said his department would refer the case to the California Department of Justice to see whether it meets the requirements of Assembly Bill 1506, which requires the state to investigate police shootings involving unarmed citizens. An AR-15 style rifle was found in Anthony Graziano's pickup truck. Sheriff's Department officials have declined to say whether any other weapons were recovered at the scene. Authorities also said Wednesday that Graziano had amassed a cache of numerous rifles, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and body armor. On Wednesday, Fontana Police Sergeant Christian Sargent said detectives served 2 search warrants at a home and a storage facility linked to Graziano, where they found numerous rifles, handguns, thousands of rounds of ammunition, smoke grenades, body armor, and other survival gear. The weapons were legally owned, Sargent said. Law enforcement began searching for Graziano and daughter Savannah after Fontana Police and California Highway Patrol issued an Amber Alert on Monday. Authorities had described Graziano as armed and dangerous and Savannah as a kidnapping victim after the fatal shooting of Savannah's mother that morning in her Fontana home. If this girl was trying to Thelma and Louise it up with her father, why is she running to police? And if she had on armor-piercing vest and helmet, that means you shot her in the face or the neck.
That would be the only place you can shoot her.
And let her lay in the street until she bled out. But as he stated in the video, the cops were shooting from above. So how many times did you hit her body piercing helmet, her ammo resistant helmet before it pierced? And now you're victim blaming. But okay.
I'm just like, if she had all that on, I need to see the picture of what she looked like. Because there's only 2 places you can shoot her. As you just said, in her face or in her neck. Or repeatedly shooting her in the same spot from somewhere.
And why was she the target, not the father? Because if they're still... because they said at the time that she was shot, they were exchanging gunfire. So that means, how is she participating in the gunfight, running with no weapon? So y'all couldn't think to stop shooting long enough
for her to clear the area.
For this BIPOC teenager to get to safety.
Nope. Of course not.
But you let Patty Hearst rob a bunch of banks and get off scot-free because she had Stockholm Syndrome. Final thoughts on the night?
I just say this. to the idiots who will sit here and claim that she brought this on herself or that she shouldn't have been running. You're not thinking about what you have to do to get away. You're not making a methodical plan when you're trying to get away from someone who's dangerous. You're just trying to get away any way you can. Tuck and roll, whatever you can do to get away, that's what's going to happen. And the fact that the police did not think or to use their brains well enough to say, okay, let her clear, let's get her out of there, and then we can resume this fight that we haven't. Y'all just kept on shooting, didn't even bother to see that this is a girl, one. Two, a teenager. She's a child. Y'all just pew, 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 pew. See, like I said, don't let me become president. Y'all gonna hate my guts. Y'all gonna hate me. Because I mean it. I am not playing around, not playing no games. I'm getting tired of this. Every which place. Now I'm not saying crime shouldn't be taken care of, but I'm just like, you're criminalizing the very people who you pushed into the situations. You pushed them into these situations. You overcrowded them all into one place. You've cut off any way of getting money to where they live at.
Well, not only that, dear public, you keep voting for people who are going to do against your best interest. We don't have proper mental health care facilities because of Ronald Reagan.
Yep.
Y'all keep touting him as the creme de la creme. He was not. And you bootlick so much for the police department and the military, they go unaccounted for. But I'm going to leave you all on a good note, because we know Hocus Pocus 2 drops tomorrow on streaming services. So take a look at this and let's dispel a rumor from quite a... D-Mac, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My mom's just been going through something, so
there's a particular song that I don't think any of y'all have been getting the lyrics right for, but I will see you all tomorrow, and each one teach one, each one reach one.
You guys, yesterday, Bette Midler tweeted what she really says in Hocus Pocus when she sings, "I put a spell on you." Hello, sailors, not hello, Salem.